So you alluded to the fact that you do have a job. I'll call it a job, a business that you do, and talk a little bit about that and about how your faith plays into that, because again that's something that's important to us. Is taking your faith out into the real world, outside the walls of the church.
Right.
What does that look like?
Well, I think we talked a little bit before that, I was a lead pastor of a church, and I was getting paid. and I was also a real estate agent. And when I first started doing both of them, I was a little hesitant to people that I met through online that didn't know anything about me to tell them that I'm a Christian and a pastor, because I'm like, I don't want to offend them right off. I want to sell them a house.
Right.
And
let me get the house sold, then I'll tell them I'm a Christian.
Absolutely. And then I had people in my church that I was a little shy about selling my house, because they're in that world, and I didn't want people to accuse me of having ulterior motives. And I was like, but then I just felt like God was communicating to me, Eddie, I made you who you are. You're a Christian, you're a pastor, and you're a real estate agent. Be who I've called you to be. And so I married the two of them, which is the way it should be anyway. And so anybody can easily find out that I'm a Christian and a pastor in the real estate world. And then people in my church, I was like, okay, absolutely, because there's nobody on this planet that's going to treat you better in the real estate world than I will, because I'm your pastor. And so I'll do anything to make things work out in my power for you, for the glory of God. So I married those, and then shortly, not too long, probably after that, or a few years after that, I got involved with Living Sent Ministries. Living Sent helps business people take Sunday to Monday, and one thing that they encourage you to do is, most business people have a business plan. Well, they say if you're following Jesus, that you need to have a ministry plan too. What's that mean to your business? And so the things that I'd had kind of pieced, going around my brain, I was challenged to write it down and come up with a plan. So I did that, and just kind of as an example, right after I did that, one of my, and you can find all that on eddiepoole.com too if you're interested, or in the book. But one of the things is I'll pray with my clients. Well, I wrote that in my ministry plan, and not long after that, I was showing Star Trek Farms before it sold and became an Airbnb. I was showing it to somebody, and as we're walking through, I knew they're Christians, and they were conflicted about whether or not they needed to buy this place. And I started having an argument in my head. Eddie, you need to pray with them. I don't really want to right now.
You mean you have two voices inside your head too?
but Eddie, they need my wisdom, and you need to just take the time to kind of be a pastor to them. I'm like, yeah, but I'm the real estate agent right now. Right. So I was having this argument, but then the killing shot was, Eddie, you just wrote a ministry plan last week, and you said you're going to pray with your clients. I was like, yes, Lord. So I said, hey, you guys are obviously, kind of conflicted, and I know you want God's will. Why don't we just pray right here and now for His wisdom? And so we did that. And I probably wouldn't have done that if I'd not written down the plan. But that's really kind of encouraged me to live out what I believe, because it's in writing. What do they say? A goal that's not written down is just a wish. Yeah. So I wanted to talk about it. I'm glad you brought it up, because I wanted to talk about it. I'm gonna put my glasses on here so I can read a little bit. You do have a ministry plan, and it is written down. Some of the things here. If I could get this iPad to work correctly, let me get up here to it. So some of the things that you have on here: praying with clients, as you just mentioned, hospital visits, resources. Those kind of things. There's 10 of them listed here. We won't go through all of them, but what has been the benefit of having it written down? And should other people write down a ministry plan for their lives, whether they're in business or not? Absolutely. And Living Sent Ministries, that I'm a Wilson County leader for Living Sent, but Jerry Moll's a Sumner County guy, and he leads the whole ministry. But Jerry has ministry plan workshops where he encourages and helps you write the plan down. So I absolutely believe that if you're following Jesus, your faith needs to be part of every part of your life, including your business.
Yeah, I think we plan for retirement.
Yeah.
Right. We plan for our kids' education. We do all these other plans. Why are we not doing a ministry plan? Why would we not do that? I think I think it's just not something that people have been taught.
I never thought of it
until
Jerry challenged me.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, to me, I think from a family perspective, it is a good thing whether or not people have a business or not, to get together and have a ministry plan, to write down here are the ways we're going to minister,
right?
And to pray about that and ask God, because ultimately, as we've already said here today, we need to take the ministry outside the walls of the church. Too often I think we think about, I'm going to go to church and I'm going to get encouraged, or I'm going to serve there, I'm going to teach a Sunday school class, and we wind up maybe serving one another by teaching a class or bringing a dish to a potluck, but there's a lot of service that needs to be done out there in that messed up world.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
And it helps to have a plan.
Yeah. Yep. And with me, I take advantage and try to, especially people that, if they don't have a pastor, I become their pastor, and even if they do, I'll go to the hospital and I'll pray with them. And of course, anybody can do that. You don't have to be a pastor to go to the hospital and pray with somebody. And I encourage my team to do that, and they do. There have been several times that I've sold a home to people who were living together, and I don't beat them over the head with the gospel. But on 2 different occasions, there's been more that I've married. I married one last Friday night, but on 2 of those occasions, they called me. One of them, we'll call him Danny because that was his name. Danny called me about a week before his wedding, and he had asked me to marry. He said, when he called me to ask me to marry him, he said, Eddie, we know we're not living right. We know better, and we want to make it right. Would you marry us? I said, absolutely. I'd be honored, Danny. So we set that up. About a week before that, he called me back, and he said, Eddie, we really want to do this right. He said, after our rehearsal on Friday night, would you baptize us? And so I had the opportunity to do that and help them recommit their lives to the Lord. And there was another couple that asked me the same thing, but they asked me after their wedding. They said, Eddie, you're going to marry us in front of a lake. Would you baptize us in front of everybody at the lake after our wedding? And so I did that.
Would that have happened if you had kept quiet about being a pastor as you were selling real estate?
Oh, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Yeah.
And
Danny's somebody I did meet from Zillow, though, so I probably didn't tell him immediately.
It's unfortunate, I think, that we have, I believe, you and I don't know how old you are, but we're in the same realm of, that generation, came up thinking that there were different buckets of life, right? And we lived this way over here and this way over here, and we didn't really blend those over too much because somebody might get offended or whatever might happen. We've just been scared to do that. And the people that I have always admired the most in life were the same exact person, whether they were at church, whether they were at work, whether they're at the ball field or whatever. It was always the same, and they were always centered around spiritual things, right? And they could find a reason to talk about spiritual things at the ballpark as easily as they could, at church. And so we need to be those kind of people, I think.